Blessed be. Today I am starting a new series called as the Lighthouse Wisdom Series, and the first this first video I'm recording to share with you something that I'm really passionate about, which came into my life maybe in 2004, that I became present to it, introduced to it. And in 2010, 11, 12, I really got situated in it. And since then, it has been a journey of, um, it has opened so many gifts in my life. And that is divination. The ability to kind of tap into the universe through various tools in this moment, and to see what's in this moment, what are the possibilities that are open, or in this moment, what is the unconscious carrying, representing that I am not able to see. And I have used the method of divination in different ways for myself, for others. It has been a part of many of my just coming together as friends and families. And everyone always, when I go, they ask me if I have this tool. So one of the tools that of divination that I very much connect with and resonate with is tarot. Yeah, it's spelled as Tarot, tarot. And I feel, and when I got introduced to it, I was shocked as to why was I not introduced? Even though the art of tarot, the divination through tarot is such a old way of divination, using these set of cards, or which we I have seen in India. We would have these women, especially carrying the nomadic women belonging to a particular community, who would meet you at bus stops and who would visit homes, and they would have a parrot, and they would have all these cards, and they would have the parrot come out and pick your card, or they would do these cards. So like my mom, my grandmother's generations was very aware of this tradition, but I think in my life I never really saw it other than on street corners, and it was always kind of looked down upon, and it was not something that was seen as something in the same merit as yoga, or those kind of tools, meditation. But I have found that everyone needs to have their own tarot deck, needs to know this divination from a very young age. Every kid needs to have be gifted, so that it really supports you to deepen your intuition. It is almost like having a companion when you are stuck, or when you are in confusion. When you draw a card and the card mirrors your confusion, you know that you're not alone. There's some interconnectedness in this universe which can show this in the field. And I know that it all exists in the field because I'm also a family constellation facilitator. And that has really opened up this interconnected web of energy within which we all are, and that it can be placed. It can very tangibly placed in the field of energy and seen, experienced, divined with, shifted and cleared. Yeah, so that's divination. And my hope with this, as you can see, there's I'm so excited. I think the child in me and the girl in me is really excited, because she never had this. She would have really enjoyed it. Even the first time, my dear friend Ariel, she didn't introduce me to tarot, but she would bring these cards and have us just pick a card. And every time something popped up, I would be like, oh my God, this is exactly uh, like I felt, or I thought, or this happened. And it that something could capture it so much. And then she also, one of the earliest decks that I remember of tarot is Osho's deck, which was created by Osho himself. So that deck is, I think, it's still one of my favorite. And my first deck that I bought in my life is this one. It's a round tarot deck, which is the Mother Peace deck, which was created by Vicky Noble and Karen Vogel. And one of the main reasons is because when I was in my women's spirituality masters, Vicky was one of my teachers who was teaching matriarchy, matriarchal studies, archaeomythology. She was also one of my committee chair for my research, and I also had the good fortune of attending one of her sessions when I went in her home in Santa Cruz. And but this deck, just I don't know, just because it's circular and just because the images on this are all hand drawn and printed and quite old, and it's part of women's spirituality movement. And it has all the different archetypes that bring together the myths and archaic energy from across the globe. They have always been my favorite, and they are very much part of my life. So, well, I hope so. This divination through tarot is an opportunity for me to really share the wisdom of tarot and just giving you what tarot is so that you can just go get a tarot deck and start doing it. You know, and suddenly you will feel like a magician that, oh, wow, you know, and everyone has that. Get a deck for your kids. You can make your own deck. I mean, there's so many ways you can go. So this one specifically is to introduce you to the tarot. And then I hope to make another video which show you the various ways that you can spread and divine with the cards. You can create your own spreads, and how to read the cards would be my next video. Yeah. And so let's begin. So I have a presentation, which I've been loving doing it. So I'm going to share the presentation with you, and let's get to know how to do that. So as you can see, this is part of my Lighthouse Wisdom series. And this is how to do, you know, divination through tarot and really develop your intuition and emotional intelligence. So now if you look at this image, I really specifically for this image, there's so many different kinds of tarot and divination decks. These are just crazy. I mean, the divination and through tarot has kind of taken on a whole different dimension in the world. So yeah, so get a deck which really sits with you, you know. And I sometimes feel it's important as to who is making the deck. Read about the person who's creating the deck, their own journey. Is it coming from a space of wholeness, integration, you know, inclusion, and not a patriarchal lens, but there's an awareness of that. Yeah, so I would highly recommend to research the person who has made the deck before you actually get any deck. And here I will recommend few decks that I have found to be very, very powerful. So this is my thought process, okay? Everyone, men and women, boys and girls, need to be taught the guidance of a tarot deck early on in life to play and have fun, to strengthen will. It really strengthens your will because the card will show you exactly your will. It will also show you what you are not ready to face, and to really develop your intuitive knowing. And I think when early on children start doing that, even when they have some challenges in their life and they draw a card, the card can both be a support, and the card also makes you realize that, hey, this shall pass, it's okay. It happens, you know, the wisdom of many of these decks of each card is so powerful. So teaching kids early on, this really builds the emotional intelligence, our ability to regulate, our ability to hold emotions, yeah, without judging them as negative or positive, you know, just holding emotions, letting go of emotions, and receiving a guidance, a wise elder. So tarot is also a wise elder. So, and then now we go into, yes. So what is, you know, so this is my take, okay? Like if life was the divine stage, right? We are all here. So I took this beautiful image of, I think it's Treasure Island or something like that, Broadway show, you know, then, you know, tarot, for me, if my life is a divine stage, then tarot gives me an intuitive, expanded glimpse onto the stage of my life. as revealed and held in this moment. Yeah. So life is a stage. I mean, I grew up that life is a play. We are in this huge drama of our own life, enacting, playing, and sometimes we get so caught in this life, entangled and suffering. So this, for me, the divination is like, how can I really play my role on this stage in alignment with the divine director's vision? Yeah, so there's a purpose that brought me here into this incarnation, into this body, into this particular character that I am playing on earth. And how can I really play my part 100%? And, without losing my soul's purpose, without losing connection with my essence, my rhythm, because that's supreme. How do I walk with my rhythm? So I feel like tarot really gives you a lot of opportunity, like many other tools. So here I'm going to really accentuate tarot because that's what I'm talking about, right? And it's not like we need only the tarot. There are so many methods, and I will bring all these tools that are part of my life here on these different wisdom series. So this one is about tarot, and yeah, so I'm going to really talk about the tarot and why it is so important for us to have a tarot deck. Yeah, and so here, so what does a tarot deck consist of? Kind of. Yeah, so while I kind of figured this out, okay, there it is. Okay, yeah. So now, what does a tarot deck consist of? Yeah. So before maybe I even go into the tarot deck, I want to distinguish between a tarot deck and an oracle deck or archetypal deck. So tarot deck is very specific. It consists of 78 cards. Yeah. And it is designed, it is created for a specific way, in a specific purpose. All the cards mean something. It has a flow. Yeah. But there are other cards, like I want to show you the Carolyn Mrs. Archetype card. So these are just a deck of cards, and these have 80 cards. You just draw a card. Then there are other cards like angel cards or self-inquiry cards. Like I have the self-mastery card by the Brahma Kumaris, yeah, which will you pick a card and it will have something written like this. So this one is wonder. As a master, I opened my eyes to the wonder of being, delighted in the way things turn out, amazed at the beauty of it all, the perfection, and I'm happy. So you draw one of these cards in a day, I have a box here in which I have these cards. And then there are these angel cards, so this was given to me one of the sisters of the Brahma Kumaris in San Francisco. And this is a deck given to by my dear friend. That's where I got introduced to it. And I have humor. That's what I pulled today. So these angel cards are also phenomenal. They're not tarot though, but there are so many different kinds of such cards. And the reason I feel these are very good to have them in your home, because people just come. They might be in their own unconscious, stuck somewhere in deep process. They come your home. They see this deck of cards, and I've always seen, doesn't matter who it is, you get drawn to it. And they just pick one card, and the card really says exactly what you are thinking, or something comes in that creates, it brings a quietness in the mind, like, oh, I'm seeing. Something has been given an expression, and in that moment, you feel back here. You come back here, right? So these kind of things are very important, even for a child, if it's really sad, or there's just to have this practice. You sit with the kid, you hold space for them, you let them vent or cry, or just sitting with them and say, would you like to draw? Let's see, what the universe has to say, what's present. And sometimes the card will really show that that you're sad and this has really happened. Someone has stabbed you in the back. It's five, the five of there's some struggle going on, and then the child feels, oh wow, the card is really showing me something, and it shows that yes, how do you move out of it? This shall pass. So these things really feel like you're not alone. There's something in this universe which is bigger than you. Yeah. So that's why these kind of, they may feel like, oh, it's very playful, but there's something really deep. So I would say to not reduce it to that, but to really give that wisdom also to your children if you give them a gift of the tarot. Don't reduce it. Give the sacredness. Give it with the sacredness. Always keep the sacredness of these decks. Yeah. So let's come back to tarot. What does a tarot deck consist of? It consists of 78 cards. Yeah. So, and these 78 cards consists of 3 different categories. Yeah. And so the core, there are 22 soul cards or karmic cards, and these are cards which represent a soul's journey, like our journey from birth to our final enlightenment or self-realization, or getting out of this drama of what is called life. Like and I'm using this metaphor is because that's very much spoken about in almost all the scriptures of all the religions. That's all everyone is talking about. How do you become free of this karmic cycle, right? And so the major arcana represents 22 cards. So it starts from the Fool, which is 0, and it goes all the way to everything or the world. So from the Fool to the world. So I see Fool and world as not different. They are the same thing, but Fool is like a seed, right? A seed can stay without sprouting for eons. That's where seeds are saved, right? Seeds can stay. But that seed, the minute it touches moisture, yeah, it has all the possibility. The magic is already in the seed to become whatever it needs to become. So mango seed has the entire mango tree and the mangoes and the entire future dormant in the seed, in the same way a bean seed or an avocado seed. The potentiality is already there in the seed, right? And when it becomes this whole avocado, it has realized it and it continues giving new seeds and new journeys. That complete manifestation of the avocado tree would be the world, and then the next seed will start the next Fool's journey. So the major arcana cards are forever cycling. They go from 0 to 21 and then back to 0 to 21. So there's a beginning. Yeah. So the soul cards, these different 22 cards, they really, when you get a soul card, so usually you keep your deck all shuffled, so they are not separate. So you completely shuffle your deck and you keep it. There's a way that you can do these 3, which I will show you in the spread, but usually you keep your deck. So I have 2 decks. One deck is fully shuffled, then I have a deck which these 3 are separate. Yeah. So this is a mini Mother Peace tarot. So I always keep it shuffled, and then you draw a card. And when you draw a card, if you get a major arcana card, if you draw the 0 to 21, and how do you know it's 0 to 21? All those cards usually have Roman numerals. The numbers is written in Roman numerals. Yeah. And these cards, when you get it, that means something really karmic. When I say karmic, what I mean is something that is unavoidable in your life. You have to meet it. Yeah, we try all kinds of ways to avoid something, but then wherever we go, it keeps showing up through other people, through situations. You're like, what's happening? Why am I? So that means you have to face it. So when you get a major arcana card, there is no way of avoiding it. Nothing. You can't pick up support card. You have to go through it. You have to really make space to receive the wisdom of this card and really look at and see, what's happening? What does this come up? And sometimes major arcana cards, when you get draw, it's not always you like it. Yeah, there was a time in my life especially when I was in the women's spirituality program, I used to keep drawing the Emperor. And in the Mother Peace, the Emperor really represents patriarchy. And power dominance, you or the other. You are in a dominative relationship or someone is dominating. You're in this power over relationship dynamics. And it used to make me so mad, but the more I made space for to really look at what is this? Is it in me? Am I the emperor? Or is there an emperor that I'm in constant fight and reactionary movement? And this really allowed me to exhale and meet the truth as it showed up. And it really built something for me. I don't draw that card, but even the card now shows up as so many meanings. That emperor of patriarchy has kind of shifted. Yeah, that card, I also see the value of emperor in that sense. Yeah. And that emperor is now present in me. I would like to kind of believe that. Yeah. So, yeah. So those are the 22 karmic cards. Then there are 56 minor arcana cards. And these 56 cards of tarot, they consist of two separate types of cards. One is the personality. So personal, like if you look at the play, then the karmic or the soul card really is the story, is the story that you're come to enact, the purpose that you've come to kind of enact, and the key ups and downs in this journey, so you can go to the next step. And if you are stuck somewhere, it really shows what's the energy, what are you not tapping into it. And in the minor arcana, there are 16 personality or cards, and which really represent what role is alive in you right now. So it's the player on the stage, it's the player of the stage. So it really shows the personalities of the card. It's some aspects. So there are not just 16, right? In life, we have so many different aspects, but it shows so many layers. So each card can mean so many things. You can connect it with astrology at that moment. You can connect it to what suddenly emerges in the field, you can emerge it with. So there's so many layers depending upon the expansive knowing of the tarot reader. It can go and take on so many different expressions. Yeah. And then there are 40 cards, which are life activity. Yeah. It's not like in a life we are always high and low. There are these other life is happening, then there is something happening. So it's not like that a big major curve, but the everyday life, everyday doings, the everyday dramas, that gets enacted, the everyday thing which we usually think are not important, but they are the ones that get you going. That's the majority of our life, the 40 cards, right? That's majority. Major arcana comes that sometimes shifts the course of direction, and then you will start moving in that. So the 40 cards, the minor arcana cards, the life activity cards really are the enactment of the big force. And the 16 personality cards are as who you show up. It shows the maturity, the gaining maturity of the person, how the person evolves through that journey that opens up. So these are the decks. So these are the kind of cards. And now we will go more deeper into that. In addition to this, each card has a particular energy, elemental energy, and that's where we are going to look at next. So the minor arcana cards, the personality cards, and also the arcana cards. So the arcana cards are, you can't really say this is one particular energy, except for the first 5, I feel. First 5 are very elemental, like everything in the universe comes from the elemental movement, and then life happens, and everything in life is a combination of the elements, right? So, but the personality deck and the life activity deck, which of the 56 minor arcana cards, each has a specific energy, elemental energy. And what are these 4 elemental energies? Those are the air element, the fire element, the water element, and the earth element. Yeah. So what is the air element? Air element, if you look at the subtleness of this, the most grossest and tangible and manifested here is the earth. So earth is anything that you can touch, feel. The body itself constitutes earth. Yeah. The subtlest here is our mind, the thoughts. Like there might be so many things going on in my here, right? You can hear it because I'm speaking, right? So the speaking itself is part of the space, ether, and the air element, right? So my thought and speech, right? So this intelligence, intellect, language, mind, which is very specific to human beings, it's because of the refinement and the nuances that the air element has really gained in this part, throat through Sahasrara. This part of our nervous system and our brain has gained this kind of aspect, which is very much pertaining to the air element. So the air element is the subtlest element, which is the mind and the intellect, yeah, identity, concepts, thinking, logic, reasoning, sensibility, communication. It's also connected to anxiety, judging, the ability to judge something, interpret something, um, integrate something. Yeah. Actually, integration is a combination of the air and the fire element. Then knowledge. Yeah. So it's the head. There's a lot of head involved here in this. Yeah. And then we can't just be here because transformation, all of life, the alchemy is here. This is where your lung and your heart is in the body. So I'm also connecting the elements to the locations of the body. So fire element. So this whole part from your navel to throat, where your digestion in the belly, which is the ability to alchemize things, there's the ability to assimilate, the ability to digest. It's also the passion that you can really, this colorful, the fire. Yeah. So fire is life. Yeah. Fire is passion and creativity, and fire is life. If our fire is also our will to exist, if fire in us really is not able to move, then life can be very dull and boring. And life, even though there may be love, but that love doesn't have an expression to channel and express. So our expression, this whole part of our expression and a heartful expression comes from the fire element. So fire element, you can, as you can see, it's enthusiasm, spontaneity, it's also drama, it's heat. You touch fire, you can burn yourself, but if you can use fire to create warmth, you can use fire to destroy, you can use fire to cook your food. Fire is needed to change something. All metamorphosis happens because of heat. Something melts, like gold becomes jewelry when it's melted in high heat, and then you can transform it. Ghee from butter. It's like there's so many metaphors of fire, right? So fire is really that aspect. It's also sexuality. So the birthing of something new requires fire. Yeah. And it's risk taking, unpredictability, like fire, when there is fire going on. Actually, unpredictability, I feel, is the aspect, pure aspect of every element. Yeah. And maybe not, because water always flows down. Fire, you don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, it's going to go up, it's going to go sideways, it can go everywhere, and it can destroy everything. Yeah. So then you have water. Water is, if you think of water, yeah, like even right now, I know that my throat is getting a little dry because I've spoken so much. And this dryness, it's right now winter season, so it brings dryness, and water, or even the oily oils, things like that, they really create this sense of coming, something flowing and together and love. In India, in the Sanskrit, the word for water is apa, which means also water and which also means love. So water is really a sense of feeling. It's a sense of, like a seed, yeah, can stay dormant for eons, and you give it a little moisture and it begins its journey of manifesting. So when the water, just the right amount of water, allows enough fire to kind of begin this alchemical process for it to begin the journey of anchoring and expanding. Yeah. So water element is emotions and psyche. So whenever you get a water element card, a water card, which is, then you know that it's something to do with your emotions. It's showing something about the feeling aspect of you. It's also relational, it's instinctual, it's wide, it's sensitive. It's about receptivity. You have water, the quality of water, nature of water is it can take the shape of anything. So this flexibility in us, our ability to also conform, because that also helps us survive. waxing and waning, yeah, this kind of moving, healing and cleansing, feminine. Yeah. So air and fire are more masculine. Air is masculine, fire is also masculine, but fire also has air, and water is feminine, but it may have a little bit of because each element, as you go down, it has the other element in it. Like fire has air in it, water has some amount of fire and air in it. That's why water flows, yeah, and it can carry life because it has some fire in it. We need warmth for life. Things when are too cold and frozen, life cannot exist, right? So air element is cool and masculine, fire is warm and masculine, water is feminine, and it can be warm or cold. In its nature, it's cooler, but fire is what makes water warm. Yeah. So that's water element. Yeah. And then we have the earth element. This is our final. This is where things are manifested. This is what giving expression to things, for things to exist. Yeah. So this is somatic, this is physical, this is practical. This is about opportunities, manifestations, giving form to something. It can also connect to rigidity and hard, because when earth is really hard, it cannot move. It just doesn't know what to do, right? So it is also connected to material gains. It is connected to health, anchoring, groundedness, earth, being on earth. So it brings you right on earth. Yeah, come back into the body. So whenever you get this card, which is about earth element, it is talking really about the physical plane. Yeah, water element is about the emotional plane. Fire element is about the creation and that magical plane, mystical plane. And air element is about the mind, mental, intellectual plane. Yeah. So, and in these, and in the tarot, there are different words. You don't see air. So the air element is actually called swords. Yeah. In many of the decks, it's the original, it's swords. And swords, it's like when you swish a sword, how it cuts the air. You can hear the sound of the air, right? It's also connected to mental, that the sword, the sharpness, keeping that part of the mind is so important, the air element, because it can cut things, it can defend things, right? And it can just create the sense of power and strength as well. So sword, yeah. And then you have wands, like a magician's wand creates magic, and fire element is connected to the magician. So magician, so it is the word for, when you see wands in a deck, it is. So here you have swords. So I just want to show you how it will show up like a sword. So this is ace of swords. You can look at this, right? Yeah. And then you have so it's very mind driven. You can look at this card, like there's a sword there. Yeah, it's a very calm beginning when the mind is really centered, calm. From this place comes like creativity, and that's shown right here. Passion and creativity begins here. That's the wands. Like you can see a baby jumping out of that egg, bursting it open and ready. This very early inner child aspect. And then, yeah, from that space that it comes, this is the most elemental aspect of life activity. Emotions, you can dive into your emotions, you can feel them. There is this connection to your feeling, yeah, beginning. So this is what shows here, two swans. And then, of course, here is the baby, yeah, in a safe connection, manifested space, yeah, of safety, home. Yeah, so this card is really the very elemental aspect of all the energies. Yeah, and so and the earth element is actually called as discs, and the in the mother piece, and the water element is called as cups. Cups can carry water, right? So cups, when you get cups, it's a talk really about your emotional, intuitive feeling realm. when the disc comes, or pentacles, disc or pentacles mean the same thing. It's about the physical realm, material realm, body-based, somatic. Yeah, so these are the elemental wisdom. So when you're looking at a deck, you really look at which arcana it is. Is it the major arcana? Is it a personality card, or is it element? Is it minor? Is it a life activity card, or is it? And what is the elemental nature of this? So, like if you have air element, it is usually represented by very subtle light colors. Fire element will have a lot of greens and yellows, and a lot of yellows and orange like fire. Water element cards will have a lot of blue, yeah, the blue aspect of it. And air element can also have a lot of purple aspect to it, and this whitish aspect. And the earth element will have colors, like you will know when you look at it. Okay, this is earth, just like this image here, you know, the greens and the browns and the oranges and the reds and all coming together in a way. Okay, so the tarot will really show you in this moment when you divine, or when you make a spread, as to at this moment what is the possibility that is there. So the elemental. And now we are going to, yeah, okay, I already spoke about this. And so you can look at the air movement. So the air, so this goes a little deeper into each of the elements, right? And I think I already did that. Yeah. So air, so the shadow of the air element could be really being stuck here, being in the head, being overly critical, even anxiety and guilt, lack of compassion. Yes, to be disconnected from present reality. You can be so much in the head that you can totally be checked out from what's happening now, your emotional level, being on earth. So you're somewhere there. Yeah. And so this is with the air element. And if you go into the fire element, so if for me, the air and fire element, yeah. So the Fool card, the very first major arcana card, represents the space and the air for me. Yeah. It represents this very pure elemental energy. Yeah. And then comes the fire element, which is I have given planets here. And the fire is being stuck in rage, anger, having, yeah, even illusion, living in fantasy and imagination. And this can also create that kind of disconnection, even glorification of life, and the egoistic behavior, lack of direction or purpose, because fire really gives direction. So lack of direction, feeling meaningless, feeling lifeless. So all these, so this card is actually very disconnected from sexuality, sex drive, or maybe very much into pornography. Or this can also show that kind of fire, which is so debilitated that it is in a different way. So subjective or objective fire, and inspiration, determination. So this card, I feel, is a very powerful spiritual creative consciousness, a live card. Okay? Fire, all fire cards when they come. And yeah, and in the tarot deck, in the elemental energy, this fire card is fully the magician for me. I see the fire as the magician card, a major arcana magician. That card is really represents fire and also air, because fire is not free from air. Fire has air. Yeah. And then we have water cup, the water cups. Yeah, water is about fluidity, the ability to flow. Yeah, so it's the flow can be like a river or a storm, like ocean. Both are water bodies, right? But the ocean is a water body which is full of salt. So there is a lot of earth in the ocean. So ocean is not really, that's why it can't really, doesn't flow. Yeah, because of the heaviness of the salt, it stays. Yeah, but river is free of earth element. That's why when pure water, it has these ions in it. It still has earth, but a very different. Yeah, so the sweet tasting. So the taste itself is part of the earth element. And when too much of water, the shadow of water is being stuck in emotions. Yeah, and that also creates disengagement from reality. too overwhelmed with emotion, drowned, the sensation of being drowned. Yeah. And water also carries memory and impressions. Yeah. So when the shadow of this is being stuck in impressions, being stuck in memories of the past, and inability to see the world in the present context. So you can see each one of these shadows still checks you out of reality, but in a different way. Yeah. And to inability to express emotions, to be so dissolved in emotions that you cannot see your own consciousness, see your own self as separate from it. Yeah. So you and emotions are one. So merged identity with feelings, lack of intuitive creativity. Yes. Or being paranoid about everything, always in this danger, or romanticizing the life. That's also part of the water. And then you, of course, have earth, consolidation. Yeah, earth really helps, gives things form. And it's like you need your home, you need an anchor which is safe, where you can rest and not be worried about somebody jumping on you or harming your life. So you need that kind of safety for your body. And earth element, when that is really together, so because earth has all the other elements, there's just the right amount of fire, just the right amount of water or feeling that is not creating flow, but it can also stabilize. So we need the flow at some point, but there is also a place for earth, so you can rest, you can rejuvenate, you can experience stability of some kind. You know? So, and earth is also feminine. Yeah. And but at the same time, the shadow could be that there's so much earth in the body, earth and even emotions. Too much emotions will lead to that kind of earth aspect where we experience, because if there's too much water, then it really debilitates the fire, because fire cannot exist. And that's when we have this feeling of deadness, of not being alive, being stuck, inability to move, too rooted that you cannot move. So too much of fear about outside or going, unsafety. There's a lot of unsafety from the past can sit in the water element and have this effect in the body of immobility. So if you really understand the elements, you will really understand the guidance of tarot. Yeah. So so earth is nature. At the same time, you can also be so disconnected from nature, or lose your separation from it, just like any other animal, right? All animals, they move from this instinctual sense of nature, but they don't see themselves as separate. So they don't have this ability to analyze and, you know, see more of the reality and come out of it. Yeah, and that ability is in human. And that's because we have this very unique combination in which air and fire are available in the earth element. Yeah. So, yeah, so earth element is about really finding the balance of all the elements in it. Yeah. And the right balance. This is where everything will show up, is in the earth element. So when you get the earth card, it really is showing up where something very tangible that's like showing you. Yeah. So these are the four elements. And okay, so here I have some decks that I use, except for VMoon. I have all the other decks. They are all very, I feel their images are very specific for me, and I use them for very specific purposes. Mother Peace is my go-to for all my women, my womanness. Yeah, that's what the card I used. I don't really have the Osho deck here, but for deep spiritual guidance of my life, I use Osho's deck because I really resonate with the language and the writing. So here there are many. So you get what, so you don't just order without knowing. I would invite you to go to be able to look at the deck, see how it resonates, how it feels for you, the images, do they resonate with you? So for me, all these images of these decks, they open something in me. I resonate with the symbolism, I resonate with the images, I resonate with the way they show up. Yeah, and it makes sense to me. Okay. And now I just want you to show all the cards. Yeah, so I'm using the mother piece. So this is, as you can see, the 22 major arcana cards. So you can see the numbers, the 0, which is the fool. You know, you can see this very innocent, enthusiastic spontaneity, upside down, complete wing to the world. Yeah, everything is beautiful, glorified, completely in some ways disconnected with the dangers of the world, you can see. But at the same time, there's such an innocence that there isn't that danger as well. It's very innocent, this card. And I call this card as the Shiva card because it is that word bhola, which means innocent, really bhola aspect. So fool is bhola, yeah, that aspect of the card. And then you have one, if you go to the leftmost first row, that's where then all the drama, the karmic drama of life begins. First, we have the magician. So magician is also this ability to be a direct, you know, the director of the play, so to create the play, the orchestrator. So here you have someone who is all dressed up. It's like the shaman, you know, who's ready to do some performance. Yeah, so there is this awareness of the separation from life, and yet there is this ability to run life. So if you can see, there are different things. There's a wand which is creating magic. There are, I don't know if there's a paintbrush. There are different things. Like you will, though it's a fire card, full fire card, you don't see any weapons here. So it's a very different use of the fire, right? There's imagination, there's creativity, there's passion. Yeah. And then you have 2, which is the high priestess. And high priestess, I see the high priestess as a pure elemental water card, which is the psyche, the intuitiveness, the wild instinctual nature. She is the guardian of between death and life. It's this life, it's that the moisture that sprouts the seed, that gateway of, if I look at it being doing the 3 a.m. gateway, when life just comes into picture. So she is the guardian of life. So here you can also see the red on which she sits. So this is also connected to menstruation in many ways, the high priestess, and intuition, very powerful intuition, and doorway. Yeah, so that's 2 is a water element. You can see the blue there. And then you have 3, which is the Empress, which I see as the pure elemental earth element. So you can see the 0 as the air. And in based on the Indian Ayurvedic thing, I also see this as space, the space element from which everything, so all these drama is born from that nothingness of the food. Yeah, the infinite possibilities. From there starts a movement, a vibration of thought, and then begins this whole drama. A desire opens up and then begins this whole drama. Okay, so till 3. So 3 is earth. You can see the symbolism of this woman in a full body sitting with her mirror. There are some very ancient symbols in the back, the figure of the Maltese goddess and the Inanna, then God, you know, so there is life springing, and the ancient the ancient feminine aspect of life, mother, manifesting, birthing, pregnant, colorful, diverseful. So this is like the doing aspect, really being in the world, that aspect of manifestation. So this is the earth element, is the 3 is the Empress. And from there on begins life, starting with 4, which is the Emperor. And Emperor is where the separating off. So for life to really exist, it also needs to separate from the feminine. There has to be an amount of masculinity, a will that directs us into our own direction. Every life, in human life that comes at some point, it needs, and human life is so sensitive, is so vulnerable, that we take a long time to separate. And that separation of this long incubation period of safety with the mother and the father and the family and the community and the village is so important. And if it happens anytime before, you have that kind of an emperor who separates off in a very painful way and then learns all these ways, because it happens at a very early time in our life. in the human consciousness where we do not have the ability to really meet this pain. So all kinds of copings get created. Yeah, that is where the patriarchal, the trauma narrative and the patriarchy is born. Or it could just be that king, that will in us that has learned. So the emperor doesn't have to be a negative card as in this deck, but emperor could also be when our will is held and loved and allowed to have its movement, when our no's are honored and when our yes are accentuated and our no's are really held and we are allowed to navigate the freedom of separation in our own time, in our own sensitivity and sensibility, then we have an emperor who already begins with this knowing that everything is interconnected. Yeah. And then you have the fifth card, which is Hierophant. And Hierophant, we all have this aspect in us, which is guiding us. It's an inner teacher. Yeah. So if the separation is painful, then this inner teacher takes on the narrative of all the world around us. It is shaming, it's condemning, it's power dominating. It learns to repress others or be repressed. It has all these beliefs about I am the most superior, or it has I am nothing, I am not worthy. So all these beliefs get manifested here in the Hierophant. So these are still at a very early stage of our life, if I look at human life. Then comes the Lover's card, which is about opposition, polarity. Life is polarity. Life is good and bad, right and wrong, dark and light. Yeah. So all this waxing and waning, home and world. So this navigation, this navigation we really become aware of in our life, that, oh, everyone is not wonderful to me. There are people who hurt me, you know. In life is not all great. There are also other aspects here. So this is the time when our mind really starts seeing the world. And then again, how is it held? So whatever emperor, that separating of how it is, that is exactly what shows up here. So this is the Lover's card. So this is where in Lovers is we enter into this relational movement. We can't exist just by ourselves in this world, right? We are relational social beings. So this is where we start really coming to this relational navigation with the other. This could be your first time in your school as a teenager, puberty, the interactions, and meeting this polarity, and how the separating of has been, because here it is, Lovers is connected to joining back, that part of us finding its own place in the world and some way of connection we establish in the world. But if we already learn to negate our essence in the separating off, that will again show up here, and the same patterns then start driving our life. Correct? So we have Lovers, then we have Chariot, which is about winning one's own way, finding the first way of finding our way in the world. And this could be through domination, if that's been the narrative, or this could be a shared relational movement. So either ways, this movement, Chariot, is very important for us to know that I can win. I can assert myself in this world and I can find my way. And how you find your way is a different thing. It will depend upon the movement till now. But this sense of Chariot is very important. So this is a beautiful card, the Chariot. You can see how the night sky, the earth, the tree has fruit. So this is your first experience of some sense of manifesting in this world and existing. First level. So this first level of card is when the maturity has not really happened. And then the next layers is when we start getting mature. And in this relational movement, then you have the Justice card. So in the mother piece, the justice and the strength are swapped. On the traditional tarot, the 8 is actually the strength card. But I like this place of the justice, because it's definitely, this is where justice comes. I remember myself as a young person, so this about justice. And in the way that I moved, since the patriarchal, it was of a patriarchal daughter, this movement was very different. It was also self-destructive in many ways. So justice is, you can see the Trinity, the 3, that integration, something connected to nature. So if if the separating off, so you have to look at the four, I feel in the tarot, how the separating off has been, and you can see that in the person, yeah, in the cards that show up. So we have this justice card, really being a voice for nature, voice for the missing or the dismembered, and so it's really bringing that, bringing things back, learning inclusion in life, yeah. And then comes the crone, which is again being at a crossroads, having the wisdom guide, having the wisdom to navigate crossroads when there are many things to know, to intuitively know where to go, because this gateway also opens in our life. So that's 9. 9 is a powerful gateway. When I see this as the Jupiter rising or the Jupiter opening in the life, yeah. And then comes the Wheel of Fortune. It is like, once from the crossroads, the possibilities, there is something about this possibility. The wheel turns. It's a fate card. Something in our fate shifts or changes, or we become aware of fate, that this is not all about free will here. There is something else at work here, and I feel that's the Wheel of Fortune. And then you have the Strength card, which once you know that things are not in my hands so much, yeah, there's something else. So nature gives you this opportunity to have your will, and then it takes it away, and you're suddenly like, whoa, someone else is the director here. And that's when you really need to find the strength. And this card is in the mother piece, it's about finding magical helpers, that there is help all around you, both physical, ethereal help. You can start looking into all this, like you can see here storks and the fox and the tree and the rabbit and the snake and the insects and the rock and the water and the moon. So there are so many ethereal, and tarot being also one of the magical helpers. So many ways of guidance here. That's where you suddenly become. And then you move into the Hanged One. That's having so Hanged One is a mature fool. So you can look at the fool there, and here you have someone who is consciously upside down on a tree, and what is entangled, what is keeping her foot with the tree is a snake. And I see snake as a representation of awakening, the Kundalini. It is also awareness. And you can see how the head, having upside down view, having a different perspective, suspending yourself, literally suspending yourself, and letting this head touch, be pulled down into the earth, and letting the head come onto the earth, learning surrender. So the Hanged One is really about learning surrender and surrendering to the serendipity of the world. And it actually makes room for the next card, which is a certain kind of egoic death. Yeah, so that is why the 13 number is connected to death, shedding, letting go. So till then, the way we saw the world happen, in a woman's life, around 32, 36 is when this happens. I feel like this is our first Saturn return, is death. And from death, once death has happened, when something dies, we feel immediately birth happens. No, birth has a process. Once something dies, it has to disintegrate and become empty, get back into space for new things to come. And that is the most delicate time, which comes temperance. I feel 14 temperance is also the sense of knowing. You can see a woman, she's really tapping, this movement of, it's both, you can grieve with this movement. Like in India, we have the mourners who do that, but it could also be calling out, calling in, hey, you can use, if you want to really throw your voice into the sound, you can do this, and it will really create this sense of expansion. So there's some sense of very delicate. So temperance, I feel, is very much also connected to tempering. That phase of metamorphosis when the caterpillar is fully destroyed, is died, it's in this gooey state. And from here, it now needs to start, but there is a pupa that holds that gooiness. And now it starts to move into becoming the next stage, which is the temperance. So temperance is that space of you're not a butterfly, but there is something beginning to happen. So there's a tempering. It's like when you make ghee, those of Indians who are familiar with making ghee, once the butter is fully melted, there is this space that the butter goes into. It is fully lathered, bubbly, and then you really have to reduce the flame and you have to stay with it. You cannot go here and there, then you will not have the ghee. So you have to just say that the ghee doesn't get burnt. So you have to really temper it on the slow flame, keep watching it, looking at it, and letting all the water disappear. So that process of tempering, really creating space is temperance. And then comes, once the temperance is done, when you move out of death like that, and a death-like situation, and you come on the other side, there again is the 99th snake of the snake and ladder, where you feel, whoa, I did it. The I comes again. I did it. It's me. There is that point of again forgetting spirit, forgetting that something else is with you, guiding you, taking you, your fate, there in your destiny. There are some cards at play here that is giving you this unique experience. And for someone else, it might not happen this way. It's not because of you are special. They are as well special in this life, but something else is at play. So this is where you have the 15th card, which is the devil card, which is here again. You can come back into the superiority and your own egoic nature, denying the spirit, and create this another whole world. So for many people, this happens when the patriarchy narrative happens. This again happens in many spiritual places. This happens. This sense of self-realization, entitlement. And in India, like if you look at the whole caste system and the Brahmin, that's the card, where somewhere some opening happened, and that got codified into these hierarchical states, seeing someone as less and someone as more, and the more has access. This illusion about nature, because nature doesn't have it. Nature has everywhere. There's order in nature. There is specific order in nature. Definitely, you break the order, you have consequences in nature, but it's not this kind of order, which is existing through the head. Yeah. So this is the card to really watch out for. And in India, in the snake and ladder game, you move from 1 to 100. 100 is where when you throw the dice, you keep going. Sometimes you meet ladder, sometimes you meet snakes, mouth of the snake, and you come all the way down. And if you see at the 99th place, you might be at the 98, and you just have to roll 2, you can get in. If you roll 4, you wait there, you can go back. But at the 99th mouth, 99th square, there is a snake which takes you all the way to 3 or 4. Yeah, and that's the devil. You can be right there. And then you have this different sense, and then that's it. That begins a topic for you. That brings you all the way back to begin this journey again. So that's the devil. And when you overcome this devil, you can integrate back the spirit, and you can see that, whoa, there is something more here at work. When you integrate that devil, when you integrate that part of you, which is this deep, it could be a deep psychotic sense or deep separation sense. So it's all starts from the 4 here. Yeah, that 4 taking on all these shapes is what shows up here. Then you know that, oh my God, this is for everybody. You are as special as me. We are all special. Suddenly you see the world and you feel, oh my God, me and the butterfly, we are not different. Me and the ant is not that separate. I have in nature's eyes, I have only as much relevance as an ant. Actually, an ant might have more relevance because it's higher up in the order than me. Yeah, it will survive, but I may not. So you have this sense, and that's the tower where you really feel like you do not need to be part of these structures. You sit up on the tower, you shout out to the world. We have these stories in India of, these characters. There's a character in Kerala, we call it Naranatha Brandhan, and I think he exists in the Greek mythology or Roman mythology, who rolls the stone up the hill and then rolls it back and then again rolls. So he would just do. Then he was seen as a crazy guy, but I think he's not a crazy guy. He's the most wisest. In India, we call him, in Kerala's myth, we call him Naranatha Brandhan. So his name is Nara. I think Narayan maybe, and Brandon means the crazy one. But that's also the tower where there is such a sense of energy which comes up, and it really doesn't matter now anymore how I live my life. I will live it in connection with the universe. I will let it be my guide, and I can be me. My essence can fully exist, and I can live this life. Yeah, in the inclusion and remembrance of all that is. So you can start seeing the maturity start happening. The storm is over. There is no storm. You can see the play of this world. There is no storm here. This all shall go. Everything is going to end as well. You can suddenly your sight has shifted, and you can see the four in the others, this emperor who sits and how it has driven the drama, or the one that can align with the empress and have a different life. So this awareness of the polarity, the connection and the separation, and how much separation, all this truth is kind of dawning. And then there is a calm that comes, which is the star, which is the calm after the storm. So if you look at this card, it's this, there is also gratitude and there is also grief, because you are now in touch with your pain. You can be human finally, not God. You can be human. You're okay. Yes, there is pain, and I shall carry it. I know I can hold it. And when I need, I create the bath, I sink into the waters, and I let myself be nurtured, nourished. So there you have the star, which brings this very deep sense of inner quietness. And then comes the moon, where you can really experience the mystery of life. And here, when I say mystery of life, it's not positive or negative. You can see everything as the mystery of life. What's happening here? From why, you can really hold a wow. What's going on? What's happening? What's happening when something catastrophic happens? Instead of saying, oh my God, how did this happen? Why is this happening? You say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going on? So something hidden. You have space for it. You're able to look at the naked truth. You're able to meet facts. The eye opens up. The emotions have found grounding, and that's the moon. That is the 18th card. Yeah, so 9 is the crone. 9 twos are 18. This is where the crone is really opened in its mature way. And then life is a celebration. That comes sun. Yeah, the life giver of, it's no longer masculine. I don't like kind of masculine, but you are able to really be in the sun, holding the feminine. So you know when to ground yourself, and you can celebrate. You can celebrate and be playful and enthusiastic fully, because the minute that you detect danger, you can also say, hey, you have very clear boundaries. You can really say, hey, back off. That's it. No, sorry, I can't. I'm not available. I love you, but my loving you is not always shown, is not representative of my doing or what I say, but my love is even beyond that for you. So that sun aspect, that to be able to really be in connection, be in the world fully, and at the same time knowing when to withdraw and go back. And then comes judgment, which is the 20 card. So judgment, it's not the judgment day, but it is a different kind of integrated whole presence. And this knowing that the whole is larger than the sum of its parts. And when you're looking at a part, you can also see the whole in it. So the judgment now is very different. You can see what's missing. You can see what needs to be remembered. You can see where the entanglement is. So there's a whole picture. And that's the 20 card. And then comes the world card, where you can move fully in your essence in the world. Yeah, so the whole is where everything comes together. And it's so interesting. Right now it's the 9 a.m. clock. And the minute I reach the world, my alarm for 9 a.m. is on. Isn't that something? I feel when sounds come like that, sound is very much connected to ether. Why did the alarm had to come the minute I reached world? It didn't happen a moment before, and it's not happening a moment after. It's happening right now at the world. 9 a.m. Stop. 9 a.m. is the world gateway in my being doing rhythm. That's when we are entering, transitioning fully into the doing part of the world card, the world. Yeah. So there you have the girl, the woman in her full embodied, emotionally mature adult self, with her tambura, with her fire, ready to cast her circle into this world and to live her life on her terms in her full autonomy and authority. Once that some, and it's not a, it could be a part of you that has reached that. Yeah. So this timeline of this could be so many times. Your whole life is a timeline. And each aspect of your life could be a timeline. And once the world reaches, once you reach the maturity of the world, a new drama opens, a new fool begins. Yeah. So this is something I just thought it would be just to show you this cycle. And I hope it was valuable for you. And then we go into various ways of looking at the deck. So here you have the various ways that I see. I like to look at the Mother Peace deck in so many different ways. So there's one way is based on the organic inquiry. This is the way that my Shaktiship journey, that my year-long Shaktiship journey, 52 weeks of Shaktiship journey is mapped on the major arcanas of the tarot. And all the explorations is based on this part of it. So it is first is preparing the stage, preparing the ground. It's the sacred stage, which consists of 0 to 6. Yeah. And then you have the personal, where you plant the seed. That's the next stage of organic inquiry. This is a qualitative transpersonal research methodology. So this is how I map the tarot. And then you have a descent, which is about chthonic. So before you plant the seed, the ground really needs to be prepared. And then you plant the seed. And then everything happens in the invisible, in the dark. And that's the descent. So these 6 arcanas represent the descent. So we start with the Wheel of Fortune and we emerge, the last deck is the Devil. So we go through this work. So all this work that I just explained to you of the major arcana, that's the work, the journey we navigate in Shaktiship. And then we enter. Once the roots grow in the chthonic, then comes the branches. So the branches is about expanding. So chthonic is about deepening. The more deeper the roots are, the more stronger the tree is, yeah, or the plant is upwards. It can rise more. So we really ground, and then opens a relational phase, which consists of the next 3 tarots of the Tower, the Star, and the Moon. And then we move into the transformative, which is harvesting the seeds. Yeah. So we begin another journey. So when you come out of the Shaktiship, actually you are beginning on a new journey of your life, right? So that's about the sun, the judgment, and the world. Those are the final 3 cards of the deck. So this is one way that you can use the Mother Peace deck. That the way that I use it is mapping it on the organic inquiry, and so many of my journeys will have this map. And another way I also kind of have really been fascinated is by the being doing phase of the seasonal phase of being doing, which is where the being transition, that peak of the being is the winter solstice when the Capricorn opens, and peak of doing is the summer solstice, which is the Cancer starts, right? So this really divides the entire thing into 2 halves, but there are 4 also as well, which is yeah. So this deck. So this is this you can put the clock on it. So I would invite you to go and look at the Being Doing Wisdom Keeper series that I have. So on this also I map the tarot, like you can look at here. So with the death, we enter into the doing to being cycle. And then, so the Fool and the world are mirror images. So here, each of these cards create a maturity. Like there is the adjacent card. So the Fool and the world, the Magician and the Judgment are interconnected. The High Priestess and the Sun are in some way interconnected. The Empress and the moon are interconnected. Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. Another is this way. So the fool really, for me, attains maturity in the strength. The magician's maturity is in the hanged one. So in this way. And so the fool and strength, the world and wheel of fortune. So there are these interconnections, like the Hierophant and the Tower are in some mirror. There's some mirroring happening here for me. The emperor, the shadow of the emperor, in a very different way, is going to show up again in the devil at that point. Yeah. And in the same way, the high priest, the empress, is going to really show up in the temperance. A mature version of that card, a mature version of that card, right? So this is really, so where the separating of a matriarchal emperor will meet the devil in a very different way. It is really about that being, not getting carried away by pleasures and of the world, but bringing sacredness, to recognizing sacredness in the pleasures of the world, the sin, so-called. Yeah, sin is about really that sensational. Yeah, the sensational aspect of life, to not be carried away into that, but giving it a place, including it, and bringing sacredness to it. So these two different ways that the maturity can show up. Lovers is interconnected to the star, the chariot. Actually, I myself keep forgetting. Yeah, so these are some of these interconnections that are, I feel, very powerful. And yeah, so this is another way that you can place it and look at it and see what's happening. Then we have the personality, 4 aspects of the personality. What are the 4 aspects of the personality? We have the prince, the sun in the mother piece, the knight in other tarots. Then we have the daughter, which are the pages. Then we have the priestess or the queen, the shaman, and the king. So these are, as you can see, it's the immature masculine, immature feminine in life, gaining mature feminine and mature masculinity. So this is also a gradation. So we, as a child, when we are born, actually, one of our will is what brings us here, right? So in a way, there is a will and a purpose for every child that comes. And how do you really strengthen that will to enter into life instead of debilitating that will with a counter will, and dooming the will with a counter will? How do we as parents, we mirror a will that is nourishing, how we nourished the son or knight's will. So, and that will, depending upon the mirroring, which is where the feminine, is the will held within the feminine, or is the will held by the masculine, right? And then comes the feminine maturity, the immature feminine, which is the knowing of cyclic, but it's still not grounded. So the feminine aspect also we become. So here it's so interesting. You can see when you become aware of your body and sensations, and the puberty, the adolescent part, where you also come into your body. Your emotions take on a different. You suddenly are emotional. You're in relational spaces, in relationship, and what happens through that. And that's the journey of maturing into the queen or the priestess who knows the elemental wisdom, and she can take care of herself. So you can look at the stance here of both the people, yeah? And the king, the mature masculine or the shaman. So these are the 4 personalities, and these 4 personalities have the 4 elements. So the son of night is both son of air, son of water, son of fire, son of earth. So those have different switches. So to show you which part of the personality is active, which elemental aspect needs attention when it comes in the tarot. And the minor arcana can be seen in different ways. So here you have, the sun. Like, I want to show you again, it's the personality, the sun, the 4 aspects, the elemental aspects of the sun. So you can see the Son of Swords, the Son of Wands, the Son of Cups, and the Son of Discs. So which aspect of the sword? So as you come down for me, I feel the Son of Discs has all the other aspect in it. Yeah. In the same way, the Sun, the Daughter of Swords, the Daughter card, when you come to Daughter of Discs, there is all these other aspects in her in a very grounded, present way. Similarly, the Priestess, the Queen of Discs, by the time she comes to disc, she's really integrated this movement, all the elements. You can see that. So there is a quality. If you go now horizontally, you can also begin to see that. And here. Yeah, so you can see all the 4 cards. I'm just going to 1 second. I'm going to... Okay, so here you have all the 4, and here you have them horizontal. So you can see the maturity in this, the swords, all the 4 swords, how that matures into the shaman, the Sun, Daughter, Priestess, Shaman. Yeah. And similarly in each, the maturity of the wands through these different archetypes, the maturity of the cups, and the maturity of the disc. So if you look at just the shaman aspect of all the elements, you can see the mature card where the voice is integrated. Yeah? The fire is integrated, the feminine aspects. You can mix all the emotions and create your own medicine. And then you have this aloneness and the vision quest and the ability to vision and manifest and move in this world in your complete autonomy and authority is the disc of Shaman. So you can see how each of these cards maturity is also shown here. Yeah. And then we move. So these are the personality cards, and I'm just showing you Mother Piece, and these images will shift in each of the decks. Yeah. And of course, I'm placing them even here. So here you can see the Daughter and then the Sun. So we begin our journey here, and then we mature into, then comes the masculine, the separation, and then comes the deepening into the Queen or the feminine, and then the final life stage is again above the masculine. Yeah, really the masculine completely grounding and integrating into this feminine. Yeah. And so this is kind of one way, another way of the cards that can be spread and seen, and their impact seen. And then you have the 40 life activity cards, that shows the everyday drama. And this again, I'm using as is referenced in the Mother Piece. Like Ace, the beginning is always a gift. To be able to come into life, to begin is a gift. To begin anything is such a gift. So again, in the beginning of anything, there are 4 ways that you can get those gifts. One is gift of the mind, gift of creativity, gift of feeling, and at the very physical, tangible level. So there is one, and then comes another. Yeah, and then there is tension, right? So there is to be balance, and it's about give and take. There's some balance that needs to be there. So here again, when you get 2 of cups or 2 of wands or 2 of swords or 2 of discs, it's again seeing he. Where is it showing this balance not existing or needs balance, or what has happened? Then when there is 2, and when comes a third, suddenly this balance gains there's a need to synthesize. When there is 2, you can talk, but when there's a third person, who do you talk to? So there is some movement of integration, synthesis needs to happen between the 3. So 3 is always about synthesis. 3 represents synthesis. Just imagine sitting 3 of you. If you 2 just do talk to the third person gets left out. So how do you move? So you are required a different movement than the 2 and 3. It's about synthesis. And then here you show that these aspects in your mind, in your creativity, in your emotions, and in physical space, where is this synthesis needed? And then 4, the minute the 4 comes, 4 legs of a chair. Our homes have 4 walls. It brings stability, safety. 4, that kind of safety human beings need. No animal or no life in nature creates a square home. We do. And there's some sense of stability which comes for the way our intellect is, the way our mind and intelligence has evolved. That's 4 creates a different sense of safety in us. And so that kind of stability, in that we need that stability. So 4 brings that. So here it'll, when you get a 4 and any of these elements, this is what you look at. You look at, where has the stability not happened? This home sense, or this sense, where is that got? Is it at the level of the mind? What's happening that has disrupted the stability at the level of emotions? So you look at the card and you see what opens up. Yeah. And then you check first with the client, and then struggle. 5 represents struggle. In the 4, if there's a 5, it's a pentagon. A pentagon is always requires much more complex. It brings a lot of complexity. And so 5 it can be seen as the downward and so there's an integration required of the feminine, the yin and the yang, the downward triangle and the upward triangle together cause. Yeah. Actually, it's not really the triangle. Yeah, it's that's the exuberance, 6. But this is 5 is really again seeing the struggle. 5 represents struggle and looking at where the struggle is and what kind of struggle it is. Yeah. And 6 is exuberance, expansion. Yeah. And again, looking at this exuberance, where is this exuberance manifesting? So it's again, we are now in the peak of doing. Like 6 has something to do with if I put this on the wall, on the being doing rhythm, I see 6 as in the peak of doing side. Yeah. And gift is at the 3 a.m. gateway beginning. Yeah. And I say this so those who watch those videos, those who know my work, you also can map it on that. Then from exuberance comes inner work. Exuberance is not lasting. It shifts. There is polarity here. Things shift, things wax and wane. So you have to take it inside. You have to start looking inside. So 7 represents inner work. Where is your inner work needed or not getting attention to, not getting enough energy? So this is where you look at, is it at the level of the mind? Is it in your feelings? Is it in your creativity, your purpose? Or it is in this material sense of the world and relationships, work. Where is it? Then when there is inner work, when inner work happens, then comes change. 8 represents change. 8 is infinity. 8 is change. 8 is shift. Things are shifting. So it's that death temperance phase. You've entered there in major arcana wise. And again, you're looking at what needs to change, what is still stale and old and like rotting and not allowed change. You look at where is change really needed. Is it the level of the mind? Mind is still stuck in some old narratives that are kind of fuming and driving the life. Where are you looking? Where is change needed? Is it the level of feeling? So change really when you get 8, you start looking at that. Then comes from when change can either catapult, you might be in the change. And then when the change is over, there's some sense of completion, something that you began in the ace, the gift, or with a major arcana that has now reached completion. So completion is in sense of, so the tempering is done and you have entered star, right? There's a sense of relief. There's a sense of completion. It's over now. Yeah, it's done. That means it also brings grief. Completion of anything is again a new beginning, right? So completion, so just that it's complete. So where has this completion happened? Sometimes things have completed, but we cannot quite know that it's over. But when a card shows it, we are like, yes, it's true. Yeah. I can take a breath out and say, yes, it's true. Yes, this relationship is over. It's complete. From completion, now comes transformation. Transformation is actually the place where you integrate, you bring it all together. And alchemy, it's the butterfly. It's the butterfly's opportunity to kind of spread its wings and fly out. Yeah, so this is 10, transformation, really deep, deep transformation. And this also leads to new beginnings, new gifts. Yeah, so this is again, you're looking at where is the transformation. So I just wanted to show you the cards for each, and you can pause on it for as long as you want and look at it. Like if you look at Ace of Gifts, so here I am showing all the Ace of Gifts cards in the mother piece. Yeah, how the movement is, where is the gift? The mind, imagination, in the feeling realm, in the realm of manifestation, tangibility. Now balance, again, you're looking at where is the balance needed or is there, like that. Yeah. So same with Synthesis 3, is it combative or is it playful? Yeah. Just looking at it, 3 can also work together at the level of the disc to build something, to create something. And then you have stability, like you can see, how do you bring stability into your mind? You put the sword down, create, sit down. There's a menarche ritual in the wands. Yeah, so here this you can see, and this stability of the discs is really creating a lone space. Home, situating in the sense of home, which is of safety and connection with oneself. Deepening that. Where is that lacking? Where is that's not there? Or what is holding you back from doing that? So you really look at that if that card comes. Then, so you have the struggle at the level of the mind, and the level of imagination and passion, struggle in emotions, struggle, or coming together in some way. So the 5 of this really shows if there's a lot of, so just to do something, really come into the tangibleness. They're showing a very mundane, everyday activity of making bread. Yeah. So there's something about this action with your hands. Yeah. So you bring all that pent up energy out into something that struggle at the level, release it through the hands. And then you have 5 exuberance. So here again, you can see life, victory, things are together. So there is that sense of expansion here, groundedness, expansion, material gifts. And this exuberance gift can also be something as simple as getting a massage. There's that sense of such deep relaxation, which came, as you see in the previous one. The 5 was not here. This one was really doing this. Then we come here into that. In your home space, now you have invited someone else to give you a massage, or you're creating you're engaging in that in a different way. And inner work, and again, if I'm not going to go into details of it, maybe I'll make another video, but I just want you to show the movement, how it is when you say inner work, what kind of inner work. So if you look at 7 of Discs as a pregnant woman, so the inner work here is once you get pregnant till 9 months, whether you like it or not, the baby is going to come at its own time. So there's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of inner movement that starts happening, and you have to make room for that. So inner work is a very different period of being with something. Yeah. Then we have the change that comes after inner work. Yeah, not always that it's here we meet really perceptions in the mind, and 8 is also about letting go things or chasing something, so you can see these various inner changes that happens when your emotions really mature. Yeah, there is a different kind of gifts that start opening up in your inside. And here in the discs, you can see such a sense of community and creation, that starts happening. Then we have some sense of completion. You can see a lot of autonomy here. Yeah, and here the 9 of Swords is really complicated. It's really revealing some very deep entanglement that were there, that are actually coming to some closure now. You can let it go. This shows that some complication in the mind, some deep traumatic complications coming to a close. And then you have transformation. You can see the fullness of these cards, the transformation, right? You can see how the community has increased. It's not one. There's so many here. There are 10. So it's a different kind of energy in this. There's an energy of being in community with others and holding that, holding many in this. So, well, that's what you have. And so I would like to kind of stop here for today. So these are different ways, right? So now how do you really, maybe I'll go to this one. Yeah, this one. So most important is the kind of space you create for tarot. Yeah, and this, and how do you do various spreads of tarot, and how do you interpret the tarot? I want to do it in another video. Yeah, and so this is where I really want you to start playing with the cards, whether you know them or not. Really building your own relationship with these different cards. So I have here the Muse deck, which is, I love this deck. And there is a Light Seers. I love this deck as well. I love the images, the colors. Just looking at the images brings a deep sense of healing in this, yeah, and peace, yeah, in this deck. So these are some of the decks that I highly recommend, and also the Osho deck. So what I would invite you is to get a card now, come back to my video, look at each card and see the number, with seeds of a personality deck, separate them out into the major arcana, the minor arcana, personality and life activity cards, and start seeing your own relationships. Just pick one card and just do that and play with it. And then I will create another video to really see how you can enter into, from play to really this deep sense of divination with the tarot. And I'm going to make another video for that. For now, this because there's so many interconnections. There is astrology, which you can do with the tarot. You can do Ayurveda with the tarot. You can do so many things. The possibilities are unlimited. But first, you really need to know the cards. You need to develop a relationship with it. And that is what is the intention of this video, is to really inviting you to play with these cards. Yeah. And then you can go to my next video when I make it. Okay, so have fun, enjoy divination, and I hope it inspires you to immediately, if you don't have a tarot, you immediately get a tarot. You create space in your home for everyone to kind of come around the tarot and play with the cards and pick a card and just be excited. Read, because every tarot book comes with a book. Yeah, so you initially, when you are just getting to know the cards, just use the guidance of the book. The book will tell you when you get a card, what does that card mean? Yes, you don't need to do anything complicated, like here, Light Seers. Yeah, it will tell you. Yeah, and don't even worry about the direction of the card. If it is all that, you can, I will share that in the next video. But right now, create space to just enjoy and play with the tarot cards, with the tarot deck. So get your deck today and message me how helpful was this video for you. What did you learn? How did it deepen your existing knowing of tarot, if you already work with tarot? And if you would like to know more, I would love to make videos. As you can see, I am so passionate about tarot. It is such a support for me. It is one of my wisdom elders who has always accompanied me and given me possibilities, shown me possibilities even in the darkest of my times in my life. And it has shown me that, yes, I see you. I see what's happening in your inner world. I know what's happening in your inner world, and it's okay. I'm here. That kind of knowing of the inner and the outer is what I have received from tarot. And I invite you also into the companionship of tarot. So blessed be. Enjoy tarot.